Good morning, students. We are going to start the systemic histology of another system today. We already finished the GIT track last week. Now you have started the gross anatomy of the male external genitalia because we are continuing with the anterior abdominal wall into the superficial area of the perineum, where in the male you have the scrotal sac and the external genitalia including the penis. So for male reproductive system, there are a whole bunch of organs and tissues which are externally placed, and there are another bunch which are internally placed. So we will divide them in such a way that we will look at the male reproductive system external structures today, and we will look at the internal organs such as seminal vesicles and prostate after some time when you have already entered into the dissection of the pelvic region, because that is where you will encounter them. It is always good to study the gross anatomy of something before getting into its microstructure. So let's look at the male reproductive system in terms of its tissues and histology which underlie its function. We already know this from before, that the male reproductive system consists of a pair of testes, which are the gonads, then genital ducts which convey the secreted or manufactured substances, that is the male spermatocytes, spermatozoa rather, as well as the hormones which are secreted by the gonad. Now the gonad will do the secretion or the production, and the ducts will do the conduction. So these ducts are in series: first the epididymis, then the ductus deferens, and then the ejaculatory ducts. Then they connect up with some accessory sex glands, accessory to the gonad. These are a pair of seminal vesicles, a prostate, a singular prostate in the midline, and a pair of bulbourethral glands. All of this, the secretions of all of this are conducted into the final conduit, which is the male urethra, which is a joining portion between the excretory systems and the reproductive systems only in the male. In the female, the architecture is somewhat different. We will look at it later. This male urethra is inside of an organ called the penis. So we will look at its microstructure also, and how it subserves both the functions of urination as well as ejaculation. So this whole set is equal to your male reproductive system, and their locations are in several different places. The testis or the gonad is located inside the scrotal sac of the male in the male perineum. The epididymis is placed behind the testis. You've already seen this in the gross anatomy class earlier. And then we have the ductus deferens, which exits the scrotal sac through the inguinal canal, gets into the anterior abdominal, through the anterior abdominal wall and into the cavity, and proceeds along the sides of the pelvic cavity behind the urinary bladder of the male, and comes to lie behind and below the urinary bladder. Here you have another pair of glands called the seminal vesicles, one on either side of the back of the bladder, and they have a duct which will be the seminal vesicular duct and our ductus deferens together will form an ejaculatory duct, which will enter into this light orange area called the prostate gland. Inside the prostate gland, the urinary tract is already being conducted via the most proximal part of the male urethra. So from this point onwards, the male urethra becomes a common pathway for urine and for the spermatozoa, which will be ejaculated only at the time of sexual intercourse. So this prostate gland becomes an important organ because it also secretes substances which are useful for the motility of this spermatozoa. Then once this urethra has come into the organ called the penis, when it is inside of it, at that point, at the beginning, at the root of the penis, we have the situation of the bulbourethral glands, which will be one on either side, which will add some more of their own secretions, and that will have its own duct which will enter into the urethra. So now from here onwards you have a common pathway, and you have the conduction of these secretions all together as the necessary requirements for the what shall we say, the relay of the contents of all the glands along the pathway as well as the spermatozoa from the testis into the penis and then out of it. Please just hang on a second. Answer cheppandi. Hello. వీడియో కూడా రావటం లేదా? మరి ఎట్లా చేద్దాం? సో ఏం చేయమంటారు? ఏది ఓబిఎస్ఆ? ఓకే, ఇప్పుడు వచ్చింది, ఉండండి. ఇప్పుడు చేయన స్ట్రీమ్ ఇప్పుడు నాకు కనిపిస్తుంది. ఇప్పుడు నాకు వీడియో, ఇప్పుడు నాకు కెమెరా కనిపిస్తున్నది. స్ట్రీమింగ్ చేయనా? ఓకే. Good morning, students. I'm sorry we've started a little bit late. There was a connection problem. We will today look at the male reproductive system in terms of its histology. Little bit of technical glitches. Hello, 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 hello. Let me just test for a few minutes. There's a little bit of a glitch broadcasting from this. Please just wait for 1 minute. Hello. Hello. Hello.